I'm joined today by Secretary of State for Transport, Grant Shapps, and may God have mercy on his soul. I know what you're going to say. Ooh, how did you do the A66 so brilliantly, Mr. Shapps? Well, Mr. Shapps, Steve Baker and other Conservative MPs are calling for the immediate resignation of Dominic Cummings. At the end of the day, Mr. Cummings, as I understand it, wanted to do what was best for his 4-year-old son and family. So he drove his entire family, including his wife, who was already infected with COVID-19, 260 miles away. Which will be pretty quick in the future, given all my big plans for the A66. He drove his entire family to stay with elderly relatives. Picture the scene. You've got a 4-year-old child, and you might be ill soon. So a 4-year-old child, you know, they can't feed themselves, they can't dress themselves, they don't even, their eyes aren't even open yet at 4 years old, so they can't see. They've still got that bit at the top of the head, you know, where it's soft, the skull hasn't formed over the brain. So with your wife ill, what else are you supposed to do, as I understand it? You're saying his only option was to drive his entire family to Durham. Look, as I understand it, Sophie, I haven't even spoken to Mr. Cummings, is that his name? I don't really even know who he is. I'll tell you what I do know though, transport. And I want to talk to you about my big plans for the A66. I'm sure that's what your viewers tuned in to hear about, and that's what I was hoping to talk about. So you're saying it's one rule for some people and another rule for the elite? Hey, look, it's a perfectly legitimate question about Mr. Cummings, and the guidelines state that you must isolate in one place. But it doesn't state how many places that one place can be. Not a single parent would argue with that. You and I would have done exactly the same. What date did Mr. Cummings and his family travel to Durham? Hey, so, whoa, beep, back up. I am Transport Secretary, so I wouldn't know anything about that. Well, it's being reported as March 31st. No, that is inaccurate. So what date did he travel? I don't have the details, I'm afraid, but it wasn't March 31st. We put these questions last night on social media so that you'd have the chance to find the answers. Why don't you know the answers? Well, look, I mean, you know, Downing Street have put out a statement saying that Mr. Cummings and his family did follow the guidelines and they stayed in the same place, but he didn't stay in the same place. The family did not stay in the same place. No, they did. Once they had locked down, they remained in one place, as I understand it. One place. It's almost 5 hours in the car with a small child. Did they make any stops along the way? I'm Transport Secretary, so I don't know anything about children or journeys or cars. Anyway, the science is if you have a child or children and you wish to seek childcare from elderly relatives, you have a sister/niece/aide deliver food and sundries to the doorstep miles from your regular home, if that is the science that within the rules and guidelines henceforth it's all gravy. Now, can we talk about transport? Because I think everyone is ruddy sick of hearing about Mr. Cummings and his family. But further stories have come out saying that during this period, Mr. Cummings was also spotted back in London and at places like Barnet Castle and in some Bluebell Woods. No, that is untrue and inaccurate as I understand it. How do you know if you haven't spoken to Mr. Cummings? I just know. So, that A66. So you'll go on record saying that those allegations are untrue. Hey, don't know. No expert, don't have the exact details. Have you asked number 10 the answers to these questions and they just won't tell you? I mean, so for example, number 10 have put out a statement, which I suggest you refer to. This is all getting rather in the way of the things that people actually care about, which is the fact that the A66 is soon going to be a fully dual carriageway from Penrith to Scotch Corner, and mind's blown by that. I think that matters a lot more to people, whether the Prime Minister's chief advisor was breaking lockdown rules that he helped create. Yeah, I'm sure it's a total drag not to be able to talk about the A66. Number 10 has said that nobody from the Durham police talked to Mr. Cummings. So are the Durham police liars now? It was actually Mr. Cummings' father who called Durham police to sort out security for the entire family, and the police are big fans of his, and I don't have any details on it. What does the PM think about all this? He doesn't care, because at the time he was well ill himself, and that was very well documented. So were we all misled about how ill Mr. Johnson was around this time? No. The Prime Minister was working as normal at that time and was also preparing for his death. He was very brave. You'll have to forgive me, Sophie. I don't actually know anything about this. Mr. Johnson does not track every move Dominic Cummings makes. They're not going out with each other. People around the country have followed lockdown to the letter. We have stories of people who were unable to say goodbye to relatives who were dying of COVID-19, of people who weren't able to attend funerals, and the man who helped put these rules in place was not following these guidelines. He was travelling to see his family. How unfair is that? Yeah, I actually know a lot of people who've been affected by this virus. I like 9 or 10 of them actually. But I should say Mr. Cummings did not go and visit his parents. He just went with his infected family to be near his elderly parents. Right, and you know all this. Yeah, I don't have any details, but that's all. Yeah. Do you think Mr. Cummings should resign? I don't have any details. Do you wish you hadn't set your alarm this morning for this interview? Oh, Sophie, do I wish I'd not gone into politics at all, just gone into consultancy and earned 10 times the amount of money I'd be earning doing shit like this? Do you? As I understand it, I have no other details on that other than those that are on the A66. Mr. Shapps, thank you. Thanks. No, thanks. Sorry, I've just got a text from Dan Hodges. He said, "You're smashing it, babe." Great.